Marami akong dapat gawin. Laptop.
Rinig siya. Ako niya okay. Nakalight ako sa iyo. See.
Going live in 3, 2, 1. All right, everyone. Good afternoon to all. So, in a few minutes, we are about to begin for career advice. Find the right career and get hired for it. Okay, so once more, in a few minutes, we are about to begin. So if you think this live stream together with Sir Arjay is beneficial to someone you know, please invite them to join us. Okay, I'm seeing myself live now. Awesome. Okay, for those who are in the world of architecture, engineering, construction, we'd like to invite everyone for Revit Structure Essential Training. On May 11, we have 3ds Max. For those who would like to learn more about creating photorealistic renders. So we have 3ds Max interior rendering and the 3ds Max exterior rendering. For those who are also interested to learn more about AutoCAD, we have another free live stream training in Facebook on May 20. Okay, for those who would like to be a YouTuber, ayan, YouTuber, inviting everyone tomorrow to learn how to edit videos with Premiere Pro. So I'll be the one teaching video editing tomorrow. For our creatives out there, inviting you to join our groups in Facebook. I think this also has an equivalent in LinkedIn. Okay, and join us also our next lineup for LinkedIn Local Live Philippines, Miss Curly will also be sharing this time on May 12. And on May 23, Miss Janet will also be sharing. All right. So in a few minutes, we are about to begin for career advice. Find the right career and get hired for it. In addition, we are also live in YouTube. So we're hoping you can also join us there. So we want everyone to participate and ask questions. So this is not between me and RJ. This is about this is for all of us. Okay? So once more, in a few minutes, we are about to begin for career advice. Find the right career and get hired for it. Once more, this is a timely share, no? Timely topic. So in a few minutes, once more, we are about to begin. Just waiting for Sir RJ to inform also everyone. So Sir RJ, feel free to share the links.
Yeah, doing that now.
What I'm seeing now are we have 5 people on board now watching us live. So 6, we're now on 6. Once more, in a few minutes, we are about to begin. So inviting everyone to join us. All right. So good afternoon, Sir RJ.
Afternoon, Romar. Pare.
How are you daw?
Okay naman. I mean, obviously we're all in quarantine right now, so it's I think lahat tayo naninibago pa rin with this new setup that we're going through. But all in all, I think I still feel really blessed. I mean, it's a time that we get to spend with our families, and it's I think a time to self-reflect. So this is actually a pretty good experience if you look at it from that aspect. How are you guys?
Yeah,
Kumusta ka
for
pala?
yeah, for our live for our viewers who are watching us right now, can someone confirm if they're hearing Sir RJ's or my voice clearly? Can you say the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, Sir RJ?
The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
May prize
So
daw
yun,
for kung sino nakakaalam kung ano daw ang use nung sentence na yon. FYI lang, that sentence has a use. Hindi yon basta-bastang ginawa.
hindi lang ba tongue twister yun?
Hindi yon, that's not a tongue twister. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Ayan. Anyone out there who knows ano? Okay,
Getting some feedback na parang I think some people are not able to hear. I live in Pasig, pare. So in the same way, we're all on ECQ right now. And here in Pasig, we also have this thing where parang we are on coding in terms of who can come out or go outside of their houses. So let's say for our barangay, we can only go out on Mondays and on Thursdays. So I think it's a good initiative from the Pasig local government to make sure that not many people are crowded in the supermarket at one time. Before they started that initiative, I remember when I went to the supermarket, it took me 4 hours to just get inside the supermarket and buy the groceries. So now it's so much better now that they have kind of filtered on what days you can go out. So it's still pretty good. It's Vico Soto. Yes. Uh, it's our mayor. It's our mayor, and thankfully, I think a lot of people were underestimating him before because he was young. He's young. I mean, he's only 29 years old, I think. But in the months that he's been our mayor, I think many people are amazed at his leadership. He's very down to earth. He's not afraid to go down and talk to the people and propose very actionable solutions. And I think in this COVID crisis, where I think most Pasig residents are very happy with the way the government has addressed the challenges. And I think Mayor Vico is doing a really good job. Ah, actually, that was a random choice somehow. No? My when I was going into when I was making my college applications, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Uh, Completely no idea. So I remember I just asked my dad, Dad, what should I take as a course? And he said IE is pretty good. IE is very flexible, so it gives you a lot of options. And thankfully, I passed, and that's where I am now. Kaya lang, I think you'll notice that even if I took industrial engineering, my career path didn't really align with like the typical jobs of IE. Usually when you're IE, it's usually supply chain or logistics or procurement type of work. So I went into sales and I went into HR, which are very different fields. But overall, I'm still very glad I took IE because it gives you nice systems-based way of approaching problems. So regardless of what field you go into, you still have that systems-based knowledge, and that helps you along the way. Okay, so I actually didn't know that was the use of that line. Oh no, good point. All right. Yeah, in my computer class, we used to type that pala. I remember now. Um, not anymore, pare. As of April, I decided to take a career break. I think it was also getting very difficult because my work in JTI as head of HR for a factory, it's 2 hours away from where my family and my fiance live. So after some time, I just decided that it was time to move back. So for now, I'm just happily taking a rest. And that's actually why I've been more active on LinkedIn. I have more time now, so I can share a lot of the things I learned, and hopefully I get to help people along the way. JTI owns the brands. Like globally, we have Winston, we have Camel, and we have Mevius. I think those would be the three more well-known brands. And then locally, we also recently acquired a local manufacturer. So if you know the Mighty and Marvels brands, so that's also on the JTI now. Globally, it's really Winston. Winston will probably be the most flagship brand of the company. It's actually in the Lima Technology Center. So still within Batangas, in the Malvar area specifically, quite near FPIP as well. Right, yeah. So we're all within the same area. Yeah. Where do you live now, Dom, compared to yeah, right, okay, cool. Financial freedom would be very important, yeah, nowadays. Agreed. Sure. John Mark, I've started the slideshow for my PowerPoint. Kita ba? Great, great. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy that you guys get to join us, myself and Joe Mark, for this LinkedIn Live session. So again, it's entitled Career Advice, Find the Right Job and Get Hired for It. Now, obviously, this pandemic, it has really affected all of us, all of our lives, specifically our careers. And unfortunately, as we all know, many people's livelihoods have been affected because of this development. So I hope through this session, I'd like to talk to job seekers, people who have are looking for their next career move now, and even some people who are, let's say, reevaluating their career options and deciding on what's their next step. Okay, so feel free, please, to just type in your questions and comments in case you have any thoughts that come through as I present, and any questions. Now, I'd like to hear what you have to, what your thoughts are, and we can get to them later on. Okay, now before I dive right into the session, I'd like to share this short Bible verse with you. In Jeremiah 29, verse 11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future." Now, no doubt this pandemic has really disrupted everything, and a lot of people are feeling uncertain about the future. But this verse reminds us that we have a loving God that wants what's best for us. Even if the future is uncertain, we know that He is in control and He has great plans for us. As He said, He plans to prosper us, give us hope in the future. So I'd like us to hang on to that promise, despite all the challenges that we're experiencing throughout this pandemic. Okay. Let me just introduce myself briefly. My name is Arjay Cansana. You can just simply call me RJ. I've been in the FMCG industry for about 9 years. I've spent most of my time with one company, which is JTI, Japan Tobacco International. As I mentioned, it is the makers of the brands like Winston, Nevius, and Camel. When I joined JTI, I actually started in sales. I was a sales management trainee at the time. And then I was within that function for around 4 years. I was a sales manager until 2016. And then at some point, when we hit 2016, I realized I needed a change. I realized that after a lot of self-reflection, I realized that my primary passion was directed towards people. So I wanted to get into a line of work that was more related to that. And so HR seemed like the most logical choice. So how it happened, actually, my transition into HR was very simple. I went into the room of my HR director. His name was Mike. And I told him, "Mike, I want to transition into HR. How do I make that happen?" And coincidentally, he told me, "Actually, Pare, we have an opening now, if you're interested." And of course, I jumped at it. And that's how I got my head start into HR. The first role I handled, I was a talent development manager, handling recruitment and training. And then most recently, I was the head of HR for GTX factory operations in Headhunters. And as I mentioned, as of this April, I've decided to take a career break, and that's why I've been on LinkedIn, posting about career related matters. And I'm happy I get to have this platform to talk to you guys in more detail about these things. Okay. Yes, it is. I'm happy. I'm happy I get to speak with you, Joe Mark, at least even through a monitor. So it's a pleasure. Pleasure. Okay. Now, just going into the agenda for this session, it's going to be very straightforward. These are the 5 questions that I usually get when people ask me about careers. And we're going to be going through each one of them, and I'm going to try my best to answer them in the clearest way possible. And as I mentioned, if you guys have other questions that you want to tackle, please just feel free. Feel free to type it into the comments. And even if not just questions, things that you agree with me on, things you disagree with me on, and I'd love to have a conversation. Okay. All right. Let's jump into the first question. What is the right job hunting mindset? And I think it's very important as we go into our job hunt to have the right frame of mind. Okay, because I think if you don't have the right frame of mind coming into your job hunt, it spells the difference between getting the right job for you and simply going on frustrating career cycles. So you need to have the right perspective before you start. Right? And for me, these are the 3, I'd say, key mindsets that I think we should all have. All right, first one, you are worthy. You are worthy of getting a job that you deserve because you have something uniquely valuable to contribute. And I think a lot of people, you forget this along the way. And that's why I think you need to take this to heart. If you yourself, you don't believe that you deserve a good job, how do you expect an employer to believe it? And speaking from the perspective of a recruiter, I was a recruiter before, you can tell when somebody feels kind of unworthy for the job. It reflects in their confidence. I can even notice it in the way that they write their resume, in the way that they conduct themselves during interviews. Okay, so if you carry with you this unworthiness, it's going to show and it's going to affect your chances of your landing the job. And of course, I don't blame people for kind of having that feeling sometimes. No? The job hunting is a messy business. I'm sure many people have gone through bad experiences in their job hunt. I'm sure you can relate to the feeling of going through a really long job application, and then suddenly your recruiter just decides to ghost you. They just stop contacting you altogether, and that feeling of rejection, that piles up and makes you even think that you're not worthy of even getting feedback saying that you didn't get the job. Okay, so for this mindset, I just want to remind you that you are worthy, and there are companies that would love to have you in their company. The critical thing is you just need to make sure you find the right opportunities and you know how to highlight your value to potential employers. All right. So I hope this one, I think, is the most important. Second, okay, I don't want you guys to treat your job hunt like a buffet. Okay, what do I mean? I mean, let's say for me, when I go into a buffet, what do? I get a big plate, and then I run through the aisles of the buffet, and I get every dish possible. I pile my plate to the maximum. Even if I don't like the dish, now I will put it on my plate because it's free, right? You're free to get anything. And then the sad thing though is as you eat, it's like you lose your appreciation for any specific dish because it's been diluted by everything else. And I think it's common for everybody. But in the same way, when we go for job hunts, we tend to do the same thing. We kind of apply for everything. We apply for even the jobs that are just slightly related to what we do, even if it's not a good fit. Right? You just apply everywhere. And the common tendency is that you will send the same generic resume like to every company. It's the same. And the challenge with that is when you do that, you don't set yourself apart, right? And it's not the best approach for you to get the right job. So I propose that you should not apply to every vacancy. Instead, you should just focus. You should focus on a handful of these selected opportunities that are aligned with your values. They have to be aligned with your career priorities, and they need to be aligned with your innate strengths, the values that you bring. Um, and the mindset here is you want to submit quality applications, not quantity. When it's just quantity, I can tell you guys, it's it's not the best approach. You'd rather focus a lot of your energy on, let's say, 3 to 5 applications and really focus on making the best applications. Okay, so the mindset here is quality applications, not quantity. And the last key mindset I'd say is, as Michael Jackson says, you're not alone. You're not alone. I think many of us, we go through this job hunt like a lone wolf. We don't like asking for help. And I can really relate to this because I myself am the type of person that I don't like asking for help. I pride myself in being very independent. And I think that there was a time I thought that if you ask for help, you are weak. So, but really, as you go through your job, that's not the best way for you to get a job. You need to rely on the support of people who can help you and want to help you. I think you'll notice even across LinkedIn, there are so many people who are offering their services for free, even just advice, because they know how difficult the times are, and people want to help you. So don't take that for granted. So when you're trying to look for help, you can, let's say, reach out to some of your connections and ask them if their company is hiring for something that's related to your field. Or you can simply ask your friends, can you review my resume and tell me what you think so I can improve it. Or you can ask your colleagues, can you do a mock interview with me so that I can practice my interview skills. All of these things that other people can support you with, they can really help you land the job easier. Okay, so you don't have to do this alone. There are many people who want to help. Even I want to help. If you just want somebody to kind of take a look at your resume and think and give comments on what I think, feel free. I'd be definitely open to do that, and a lot of people will be open to do that too. Okay? So those are the 3 key mindsets. So in summary, you are worthy of getting a job you deserve. You don't treat the job hunt like a buffet. Focus more on the quality of the application, not the quantity. And lastly, you're not alone. You can ask for help. So, Joe Mark, do you agree with these mindsets that I proposed for everybody? Well, right. Right. So I hope that, and guys, if you have any other mindsets that you think are critical that we need to have, please comment it on the feed, and I think it would be great if everybody could share. Okay. Okay. So in that case, Mark, let's move on to the next question that I usually get. Where do I find job opportunities? This is important because how can you know how can you decide on the right opportunities if you don't even know where to find them? So for me, typically we have 3 sources of opportunities that we go for. First one, which is the most common one, and I think everybody knows, it's job sites. Um, we know the major ones. The major ones are LinkedIn, JobStreet, Indeed, Caliber, and Glassdoor. So as we've become more and more digital, more of these job sites have been popped up. And you might be asking me, RJ, do I really need to, take a look at all of these sites? Can I not just focus on 1 or 2 and just prioritize my search through there? My answer is, if you are really proactively searching for a job, I recommend you check them all. And the reason is, I've realized that employers, they don't post on all of these sites. You would think that they would just mass post everywhere, but that's not true. For instance, in JTI example, we only post in JobStreet and LinkedIn. So if you don't check all sites, it's possible that there are career opportunities that will fall by the cracks, and you won't be able to take advantage. So it won't take too much time. You just check the sites once in a while, and and keep your eyes open. Also, do not neglect checking career company websites, especially if you have very specific companies that you really want to target. So there are some more well-known companies that they really prioritize posting on their career websites. So if you have ones that you target, make sure that you check their career websites every once in a while. Okay, now the great thing about job sites is all of the options are pretty much presented for you. You can see a huge list of all the vacancies, and it's easy to apply. But then the disadvantage now of job sites is that everyone else can see these applications. Everyone else can see these vacancies. So your competition is to the maximum. You have so many people competing for the same job. And for instance, let's say with a well-known company, once they post a job vacancy, after a matter of a few days, you would have more than 200 applications already piling into that particular posting. And so the question will be, how will you stand out? You have more than 200 applications or more for great vacancies, and how do you stand out from the crowd? I actually have two recommendations for this. First is apply fast, and second is your resume must stand out. Why must you apply fast? In my experience, if a company posts a job vacancy, recruiters are more likely to take a look at the applications that came in early, let's say at least within the first day or two. If you post already after 1 week, honestly, the chances of your resume, your application being viewed really decrease. So you have to apply fast. And how do you do this? I would recommend that you make use of job alerts. Let's say in sites like LinkedIn or JobStreet, you can program job alerts. Let's say you are targeting an accounting manager job. You can put it into the job site and make a preference to have a job alert for accounting manager. So if an accounting manager post comes up or anything related to it, the job site will funnel an email notification directly to you. That it will advise you that this vacancy came up. So you can check it right away and hopefully prepare your application and submit it as fast as possible. Okay, so you need to apply fast, make use of job alerts. And of course, even if you actually apply fast and you apply, you're within the first few applicants, if your resume does not stand out, it won't matter. Your resume must stand out. And how do you do this? One tip I have for you is before finalizing your resume, take a look at the job description in the post. Like read through it very clearly. And then I recommend you pick out certain words, certain terminologies that are used in the job description and put it into your resume. Because let's say for corporations, they don't, even if they can mean the same thing, they have different terminologies. Like P&G would use different terminology from Nestle, from JTI, and so on. So just a quick tip is use the terminology that the company uses. Take some words, take some jargon that they use and incorporate it in your own resume. Because you want to make it easy for the recruiter to see that the job description and your work experience are actually aligned. you want them to see easily that you are fit for this vacancy. Okay? So again, guys, any questions, just feel free to put it on the comments. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Okay, aside from job sites, the second primary source of um, opportunities are headhunters. Headhunters, or let's say some people call them search firms, executive search. These are the guys who companies work with to specifically look for people to hire. These are the guys who look for talent. Now, some companies, they actually course their vacancies exclusively through headhunters. Um, they, I know of a few very well-known companies that it's really primarily headhunters that they use. So the challenge with this is, you'd like to expand your network of headhunters. In LinkedIn, you're going to find so many headhunters out there. So it would be good to proactively reach out to them and just share your resume. And hopefully you can have a conversation with the headhunter to align your career goals and trying to sell yourself and why your profile is something that they should be trying to find a vacancy for. Oh, I would not want to actually. I would not like to. Okay, you can message me individually, and I can I guess recommend some. No, but the honest answer is it really depends. There are headhunters have different specializations. There are some that really specialize in, let's say, C-level uh, applications. There are some that specialize in mid-level managers, some that specialize in supervisory, some that specialize in associate levels, some that specialize in varying industries. I think one good thing that headhunters do is they try to focus on a specific niche and make sure that they really understand the talent with that specific niche. So if you ask me what's the best headhunter, I would say it depends on your background and what you're looking for. So if you want me to give more specific information about that, send me a message and I can take a look at your profile and I'll try to link you with the best, at least the headhunters I know that could best serve what you're looking for. So it's great that you could reach out to headhunters, but at the same time, it's even better if you could stand out on LinkedIn, attract headhunters to you. Because you want headhunters to kind of see your profile as something that's very, that's very marketable. So if they see that you have a very solid profile, they will reach out to you and actually ask for your resume. And that's so much better than you just reaching out to them. So my tip is beef up your LinkedIn profile. And we're going to talk about that a bit later on. And lastly, your relationship with headhunters, think of it from a long-term perspective. It's possible that they might not have a vacancy for you now. But if you manage a good relationship with them, if you're very clear about what your career goals are and what you can keep them updated with your experience, if a vacancy comes up that's a fit for you, they will make sure to call you and you will be top of mind. So think of your relationship with headhunters from a long-term perspective. Yeah. Last source of opportunities, I would say, is your professional network. This is probably the most difficult one to cultivate, but it is the most advantageous one if you get it right. Because if you get this right, let's say you have a strong professional connections with somebody from a company that you're targeting, it's so advantageous for you because you gain access to vacancies even before they're posted online. So obviously, employees, they are the ones who know first what vacancies will come up. So you want to have a strong network of professionals in the target companies that you want to go for. So not only do you gain access to the vacancies before they're posted, you will also be given priority, especially if you are referred by your contact. Through experience, it really matters that you're really given priority if you are recommended by an employee. Right? So it's such a huge advantage. So this source of opportunities is best if you have specific companies in mind. Okay, so let's say for instance you want to target Nestle as your dream company, and then you're working in the finance department. What you can do is you just simply go on LinkedIn, look, search for Nestle and look for people who are working in the finance department and try to reach out to them. Send them a customized message to invite them to connect. You can be transparent with them to say that, yeah, okay, I'd like the opportunity to join Nestle, and you would be super grateful if they could let you know if there are any relevant vacancies that come up. But I think one thing I want to stress is don't make it seem like to your contact that the only reason you're talking to them is because you want a job. Okay? Try to also get to know the person a little bit better, know their background, highlight any commonalities that you have, that you both have, and explain like how you guys can collaborate in terms of exchanging ideas. That's a great thing to do. And make sure to remember that you can ask, that you can offer your services in case they need help also. Right? You're trying to build a relationship, so it has to be a give and take. Yeah, so those are basically the three sources. If you have any other things that I have missed, please let us know in the comments. Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I might not have been too clear about that. No, this is this will happen if, let's say, you have a contact in the target company that you have, and this contact knows that you're looking for a job in that company within this department. And then if you have a really good relationship with your professional network, he will call you. He'll say, RJ, they're going to be opening, we're going to be needing an HR manager in soon. So please prepare your resume now if you'd like to apply. So this is more of your contact reaching out to you, telling you that, oh, something came up. So this is where I stress it has to be a long-term approach. Ideally, once you reach out to them, there's already a vacancy that they can refer you to. But most of the time, that's not the case. So you have to be patient with this and cultivate that relationship so that when a vacancy comes up in that company, your contact, he will call you right away, even before they post it online. Yeah, agree. I agree. And it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to get to know headhunters, and you can get a bigger breadth of knowledge about the industry as you talk to more and more headhunters. So thanks, Raymond, and that's definitely true. The more you know, the better. Okay. If there are no more questions, next question is, how do I know if I should pursue this vacancy? I've been talking to you guys about focusing on the quality of applications and not the quantity. So how exactly do you know if this is one of the opportunities you should pursue? I have two criteria. First, the job must align with your priorities. Okay? So when I say your priorities, I've listed here the priorities for your career. So compensation, flexible hours, great boss, and all of these things. The reality is you will not get all of these things with the same company. Most of the time, you will have to pick. So I propose that you need to pick your top three, maximum three priorities for a job, and you filter out opportunities based on those priorities. And know that your priorities, they can change as your career progresses. Let's say, as an example, for me, earlier in my career, I had very different priorities. My three priorities at the time, if I could remember, were I wanted a great boss because I wanted to be mentored. I was young. Second, I wanted career growth. I was very ambitious at the time, and I wanted to achieve as much as I could in the fastest time possible. And last, I wanted to prioritize travel. That's actually one of the reasons why I joined JTI, because in my management training job, I was able to travel to different countries. So, syempre, as a young graduate, you think constant business travel is very glamorous. Yeah, so those were my three priorities when I was younger: great boss, career growth, and travel. Now, now that I'm further along in my career and I'm about to get married, I'll be married in June 27. Uh, and now that I have that as a perspective, my priorities have completely changed. Completely changed. First, because I'm a bit further along in my career, it's important for me to have influence. And when I say influence, I mean I want that the job I do actually influences the trajectory of the business and influences the people I work with. But second and third is I prioritize compensation, because now that I'm going to be the head of the family soon, once I'm married, I want to make sure I can provide for my family. And third, priority for me is flexibility. In the same way, I want to make sure I have a very good relationship with my family. So I want to prioritize the time I get to spend with them. So flexibility of hours will become very important. So it's okay for your career priorities to keep changing. Just constantly reassess. And I challenge you, maybe after this session, to think about your career priorities now and assess whether the job that you have is aligned with them still. And sorry, I'm not saying that you need to leave your job. I'm saying that it's good to reassess your priorities so you can have a conversation with your employer to see how you can kind of realign your job based on those priorities. And as a job hunter, it's good to know these priorities so that you can really target the specific opportunities that will satisfy those priorities. Yeah. So that's the first thing. It must be aligned with your priorities. Second is the vacancy or the job must be aligned with your strengths. I think it's important that any job you take has to leverage on your internal strengths. According to Gallup, they say that an employee, like one good indicator of an employee's engagement levels is whether he or she can use their strengths on a daily basis. So you have to take a look. Does the job, if all the activities required for the job, will they maximize your strengths? Will they give you an opportunity to use your strengths consistently? I'll give you an example. Before, I was in sales. And honestly, I struggled. I really struggled when I was in sales. I'm naturally very introverted. I prefer to listen more than talk. And I don't like competition per se. I prefer to collaborate more than compete. But when I was a sales manager, if I needed a huge part of the job was meeting a lot of new people. I also needed to sometimes aggressively persuade buyers, and I kind of felt the need to compete all the time. So these were very different from the strengths that I internally have, and it made the job very exhausting because I was kind of forcing myself to be somebody who I'm not. And that's why when I transitioned into HR, it was like night and day. Suddenly, I felt such a huge alignment between who I was and what I did. And so now that's why I'm very happy in this field and in this industry. So how will you know what your strengths are? it's always good to have a lot of self-reflection. You can ask simple questions like, first, what do you like doing? These are the activities that no one can force you to do it because you enjoy doing it anyway. Second, it's like, what skills do you pick up easily? Like, what are these skills that it's quick for you to pick them up, and some people actually ask you for help? That's a good indicator of what your strengths are. And then, of course, you can ask other people, ask your family, ask your friends, ask your colleagues. Ask your colleagues, those who you like and even those who don't like you so much. Ask them what you're good at. And once you find like a common trait between all of that feedback, that's a good indication of which your strengths are. And then lastly, if you want even deeper self-reflection, you can take personality tests. There are many you can take. You can take Enneagram, you can take DISC, MBTI. But my personal favorite is Strengths Finder by Gallup. When I took this particular test, it's like a light switch kind of came on. Suddenly, I understood myself on a much deeper level, and I suddenly understood what jobs would be best fit for me. So, take the Strengths Finder, and you need help interpreting how it applies to your job or any vacancy. Let me know. I'd be happy to help. Good. So yeah, Gallup Strengths Finder. So if you actually just search that online, Strengths Finder, you'll find a link to Gallup and how you can take that assessment. It's not free though, but I think the benefits you get from it are worth it. So for me, in summary, just take a look at these two things when you're assessing whether it's a vacancy you should actively pursue. Number one, does it align with your career priorities? And number two, does it align with your personal strengths? And most likely, if generally they're aligned, then you should pursue it quite aggressively. Good. So, John Mark, any questions from the chat or anything? If not, I'll move forward. All right, cool. Okay, next question. I think it's very important. How do I stand out? Again, I was talking again about multiple applicants like funneling into these vacancies. So how do you stand out? Okay, number one, I would say is you need to have an impactful resume. First, it's critical that you highlight your USP or your unique selling point, your unique selling proposition. We talked in the previous slides about your strengths. You have to know your strengths. For your resume, I want you to make sure that your strengths and your work experience are very clearly highlighted into your resume. As a recruiter, in a glance, it should be very clear to me what makes you stand out, what specific strengths really will make you an ideal candidate for the vacancy. Because when I read through a lot of resumes, sometimes it's not clear to me what the person's strengths and selling point is. This is where I also talked about worthiness. I sometimes feel that when you don't think you're like fully deserving, it comes out in your resume. It doesn't seem like you're very proud of your accomplishments. Okay, so number one, you need to highlight your unique selling proposition. Second is be specific about your achievements. For instance, like, example, don't write something like, I increased sales for the largest supermarket account and overachieved volume targets for the year. I would rather you write something like, increased sales by 32% for Robinsons Supermarket versus 2018 and overachieve volume targets for 2019 by 12%. It's night and day. The specificity of your statements really gives you so much more credibility. So simply putting in numbers, like concrete numbers, names of accounts. All of these things add to your credibility. So be specific. Third, customize per application. I think I already touched on this a little bit. Use the terms from the job description. Just to review, read through the job description of what you're applying for. Take a few statements, take a few words that are used a lot in the job description and try to incorporate it in your resume. Make sure that the recruiter can see a clear link between the job description and your resume. And this will take effort. That's why we want to focus on quality, not quantity, because it will take time for you and effort to really customize your resume specific to the job vacancy, specific to the company. And last general tip I have is keep it at one page. I think sometimes we think that more pages makes your resume more beefy and more credible. That's not true. Keep it at one page. Because the reality is recruiters, we don't have that much time to sift through all of those. For instance, you have 200 applications. You're not going to be reading all resumes in a very detailed manner, especially if it has multiple pages. So it has to be one page that's very impactful and really condenses all of your achievements and your USP in that one page. Okay? So I think there was a study that said that recruiters and hiring managers only take 6 seconds to scan your resume. So in those 6 seconds, in your one page has to convey it very strongly. Yeah. If you might ask if I have any templates, I would not recommend any specific templates because there are so many that you can use. There are so many online that you can download and really good ones. It just depends on how you yourself would want to structure your resume that best highlights you. So don't focus too much on the template. Focus more on these things about highlighting your USP, being specific, and customizing your resume per application. All right. Next, you need to communicate your value in interviews. When a recruiter takes and hiring manager looks at your resume, I think they make a very logical choice. They just take a look. Okay, RJ's resume, does it correlate or link well with what we're looking for based on the job description? If it's somewhat a fit, then we can proceed to the next stage. So it's a very logical assessment. But when we talk about interviews, I would say emotions play a huge part in your success in interviews. When interviewers, talk to you, usually there are 3 subconscious things they're asking. 1, they're probably asking, do I find this person to be competent? 2, do I find that I trust this person? And 3, will I want to work with this person? So these are all questions that are very emotional. So we need to play up emotions. And the way that you do that is by telling stories. A lot of people that I interview, sometimes when they answer questions, sometimes it can feel like it's in bullet form. They kind of just state things in a bullet and do a quick list of their achievements or their qualities. I would rather you tell stories. Because stories, there's a quote that says that the human mind is a story processor, not a logic processor. We connect best through stories. So instead of saying, I get things done, I would rather that you tell me a story that illustrates a time, that illustrated that quality. Tell me about the project that had really tight timelines, that had limited resources, but you were still able to find a way to work with your colleagues and get it done. That to me is so much stronger than just saying, I get things done. So tell stories. Well, uh, actually, one of our attendees, Raymond, Victorina, is actually at least based on all of his LinkedIn posts. If you read them, it's really crafted very well in a story-like way, and it makes people resonate with it so much more. That for me is a great example that if you take a look at Raymond Victorina's posts, the way he crafts the story in his post, makes it really resonate to you emotionally, and that's why a lot of people get a lot of value from that. So story is really a key element. Exactly. That you're right. You're right. It's like they have a strong first line that kind of draws the reader into the post, even if there's no pictures. That's where the power of words, the power of stories, can really enhance what you're trying to say. Yeah. And right, right. So even for me, even if visuals and videos are very powerful, especially now, there's still something about words that really can hook you. There's a way of crafting them, and but in interviews, it's not just about words. It's even your entire being. When you tell the story, you need to show it in your body language. You need to make sure that your facial expressions are kind of aligned with what you're saying. You need to feel excited about what you're telling the person. So it's not just even the story per se, it's how you communicate it through your whole body. And last point, no, I'd like to highlight, I read in a book called The Art of Soulful Persuasion. The CEO of a company, he says whenever he interviews somebody, the question he has in his mind is this person someone I would like to have a beer with? And basically, he's asking, would I want to hang out with this person? Is this somebody that is likable and I would like to see around the office and actually talk to? So your likability, unfortunately, it really matters. It's not just logic and what you know. It it also matters how you make other people feel. So I recommend that you do mock interviews. You practice with a friend to do an interview, and then it might be awkward, but take a video of yourself doing an interview, and then watch it back and try to assess based on how I communicated myself. Does it seem like I'm the type of person someone would want to work with? Okay, so it might be awkward, but I think that really pays a lot of good benefits. If you can watch yourself, look at your body language, the tone of your voice, the pitch, and your eye contact, all of these matters into this having a person decide whether they want to work with you or not. Yeah. Sorry, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I just put that because that's what it said in the book. But for me, it would rather be: is this somebody I would like to have coffee in the pantry with? Right? More of that. Uh, but but yun, I would really encourage you guys to watch how you say things and remind you that likability matters. Okay, be somebody that other people would like to hang out with. Yun. And this one, I mentioned we will talk about LinkedIn a bit later. So one way to stand out is to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Nowadays, everything is digital. All recruiters, all headhunters are on LinkedIn. They use this as a primary platform to really scout for talent. So if you are not optimizing your LinkedIn, you are losing out on opportunities to get noticed. So how do you do this? One, it's simple. You have to complete your profile. LinkedIn will give you some assessment of your profile, like, and you should aim to be an all-star profile. And how you do this is it's very simple. You just need to complete all of the fields for your profile. Number one, put a picture. I'm still surprised because a lot of people apparently they still don't put pictures on LinkedIn. You just see that gray, silhouette of a face on their LinkedIn, and that's humans are very emotional, and if we see a gray box there, it's not likely that we'd like to connect with that person. Diba? So put a picture. Second, fill out your career summary. It's the about section in your LinkedIn profile. Just put in very clearly what your USP is, some snapshots and highlights about your career, and that's it. It's very simple. And then you put in also your work experience in the detailed work experience section. And just by completing all of these fields, suddenly you're already within the top tier of LinkedIn profiles, because many, many people, they don't complete their profiles. And that is such a low-hanging fruit that's easy to do. Okay? Next, your headline should reflect the job that you want. Let's say you want to be an accounting manager. Put on your headline, accounting manager. Because when recruiters, they type on the search bar and they're looking for an accounting manager, make it easy for them to see that, let's say, Brian is an accounting manager, so I will click on his profile. Right? Make it easy for them based on your headline to want to go to your profile for a specific job that they're looking for. Your headline is very expensive digital real estate. Usually when people see a list of profiles, they only see the picture and the headline. So make sure that your picture and your headline are reflective of who you are. I noticed also that there are many people who put actively searching for an opportunity on their headlines or open to new opportunities. While I think it's good to be transparent that you are looking for a job, that's not a problem, but I think you're wasting the space. Instead, you would rather put in their text that is directing recruiters to you and telling them about you. So I don't put open to new opportunities. It should not be in the headline, ideally. And then put a strong summary which highlights your USP. I already mentioned this a little bit. If you don't think you're a very good writer, feel free to ask help from your friends who are good writers. Ask them to draft a short summary based on resume that you can put on your about section. And next, make sure you have a professional looking photo. This is such a huge advantage. Ideally, it should be a headshot, looking straight at the camera. Don't make it a photo with people in the background, or don't make it I know people like their pets, but don't have your pets in your profile photo. So it should be just you. The manner of your photo can be different. Let's say you're in a creative industry, it would be nice to make it a bit more colorful and such. If you're in a more rigid, let's say banking type of industry, then really professional looking photo would be best. Okay. And lastly, create content. This is very important because LinkedIn is still very underutilized, especially in the Philippines. There's such a small percentage of content creators on LinkedIn. And if you create content, the beauty of that is the algorithm of LinkedIn will bring you up into people's feeds. So you put a post or you put a picture, recruiters will be able to see your posts consistently. And that already is forming an impression in their minds and hopefully giving them a good impression to want to reach out to you. Okay, so create content. Simply creating content already makes you stand out significantly in LinkedIn. Right? So that's basically how I would propose that you stand out from the crowd. An impactful resume, you need to tell stories and communicate your value in interviews and optimize your LinkedIn profile. So I know everyone here is on the LinkedIn community. So let us know if you have any tips on how to better stand out within this platform. I know some of the viewers are really strong LinkedIn professionals. So let us know what other advice you would offer. Yeah? Sorry. Right. Right. Perfect. Actually, so like just to stress again, when recruiters search on for certain positions that they wanna source for, they will see your photo and your headline. So actually, if anything, those are the most important aspects: your photo and your headline. Okay. Good. So last question that was funneled to me previously was, how does the job hunting landscape change post pandemic? Uh, okay, simply, I have three answers. One, virtual interviews will be prevalent. In the age of social distancing, recruiters will make it really a common practice to have virtual interviews. Like personally, I've had a string of virtual interviews recently, and you would think that it's exactly the same as face-to-face interviews. You don't think you think it's just exactly the same dynamic. But I noticed that there are certain nuances in virtual interviews that you need to pay attention to. For instance, you need to make sure your Wi-Fi connection is very stable. You don't want your interviewer to have a difficult time understanding you because your Wi-Fi is not stable. You want to make sure that you are dressed appropriately, even if it's a virtual interview. I recommend still dressing up like from top to bottom in what you would wear in a common interview, because psychologically it puts you in a different frame of mind when you're dressed to your best. Okay, so I know there's a lot of memes about people just dressing up their top and wearing shorts underneath. I don't recommend that. Virtual interviews, dress as if you are in a face-to-face interview. Another thing is you need to check the lighting. Make sure that the lighting of your room really illuminates you properly. Make sure that your background is not cluttered and messy. Make sure it's not in a common area where people can just pass by. You know, where your parents or your kids can just pass by behind you. So you don't want anything distracting the interviewer from the interview. So yeah, I think it takes a certain level of practice to be good at virtual interviews. So before coming into that interview, test everything. Test the connection. Test the lighting. Test the angle of the camera. Test what you're gonna wear. Test what the background looks like. So all of these matters because your interviewer only has that one small screen to make a decision about whether they want to hire you. So control what you can control. Another thing that will change post pandemic is the importance of your digital presence. Again, because face to face meetings will not happen often, recruiters will really look online and take a look at your digital footprint to understand, to get more information about you. So we already talked about LinkedIn, that recruiters take a look at this quite focusedly. But I have a feeling that it will come to a point where recruiters will even look at other digital platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, your blog. At some point, your digital personality across all of these platforms will be used to create an impression about you from a job hunting sense. So if you're really, serious about your job hunt, take a look at your Instagram, take a look at your Facebook, make sure that somehow your photos there are decent. I would not recommend putting photos or posts about you getting drunk like on consecutive days. I don't think even if you say that it's my personal life, if a recruiter potentially runs into that piece of information, it's going to cause different perception of you, right? So you don't want to take the risks. So take a look at all pro, digital platforms and make sure it's decent, I'd say. And the last thing, post-pandemic, I think constant upskilling will be necessary. Since this pandemic, businesses have had to change like really quickly. Like org structures are changing like significantly. Jobs are changing, and I really think this is not the end of it all. I think as our business landscape continues to evolve, jobs and businesses will continue to evolve as well. So even if you were not affected by the pandemic, even if your job is secure, I don't think we should be complacent. It's possible that, if not now, later you will be forced to reinvent yourself. So that means you need to continue learning. You need to continue stretching yourself outside of your comfort zone. And that means being open to the idea of changing. Your adaptability during this new normal, I think, will really spell the difference uh, between you failing or you thriving in this new reality that we're facing. So make sure you somehow practice for virtual interviews because this will happen more and more often. Take note of your digital presence. Look not only at LinkedIn, actually take a look at your other platforms to make sure that it doesn't reflect you in any bad way. And lastly, constantly upskill. You need to keep learning and be prepared to reinvent yourself moving forward. And that is basically, those are the 5 questions I usually receive. And if there are any more, I'm open to taking them. Questions or comments that you'd like to put up for discussion, we'd love to hear it. All right, Asia Select is actually one of the headhunters that I personally know and work with. So yes, please reach out to them as well. Yeah, but JTI has had good experience working with Asia Select. So yeah, should reach out to them. That's true. Ayun. I mean, if there are no more questions, guys, I mean, no need to force them, no. But feel free to still reach out to me in case you think of something, or you just want to have a discussion about anything that was brought up here. So I would love to have. I like actually talking about careers and how the pandemic has changed the job hunting landscape. So feel free to reach out. Okay, so you can reach out to me in LinkedIn. Ah, correct me if I would say there are two different schools of thought no, about some people, about employers like promoting their or encouraging their employees to strengthen their LinkedIn presence. I think the more progressive ones definitely want their employees to maximize their presence on LinkedIn because the best employer branding or employer brand ambassadors are the employees themselves. Uh, you, let's say nowadays I'm now talking about employer branding. Nowadays, it's important for employers to humanize their company. So, for instance, for JTI, we also did this quite recently where when we wanted to create a new employer brand campaign, we really featured employees and we really featured like talking to the employees and trying to help other people get to know the employees in the company because when you humanize the company it allows other people to connect better with the corporation. So a lot of very progressive companies definitely want their employees to maximize the use of LinkedIn. I would say that maybe they have not yet verbally, you know, communicated this very aggressively to their employees yet. Uh, but I think employers should, because LinkedIn is also a way for uh, people to get an impression about the company. So before, when I was part of JT, I was incredibly proud to be part of that company, and I would um, recommend it to any person that talks to me about it. And so I would share links, share videos about the company, and you know, I know for a fact that that helps the company in terms of recruiting talents who would want to consider joining. And so, but I know that there are some companies who are still a bit hesitant. They still have this impression that if you are beefing up your LinkedIn, it means you want to leave. I think that's a backwards way of looking at the platform. LinkedIn is not only a platform to look for a job, although it's a great one if that's your objective. But I think it's not good for employers to use that as a basis to see whether an employee wants to leave the company or not. So I think that's a backwards way of looking at it, and I advocate employers to encourage their employees to use LinkedIn. Actually, just to share about thought leadership, this is also another way for you to become more attractive to potential recruiters. Uh, if you use LinkedIn and other platforms to express your thought leadership, that really helps because it gives the recruiters a sense of your knowledge about the industry that you're in, and it makes you automatically more credible. So becoming a thought leader is actually a great tool to make you more marketable. All right. Salamat, Chong. Actually, hindi ko alam yun. I didn't know that YouTube was that powerful. So, actually, I should give that a try. That's a good question. Because personally, I know a few managers that can be afraid or kind of get alerted when they see one of their employees updating their LinkedIn. I would say that personally, I think just do it. Just even if your employer might be a bit worried, just just maximize your presence on LinkedIn. Share your knowledge. And I think one great thing to make them less worried is share things about the company. You can highlight things that are great about your current company and post it on LinkedIn. And in that way, your employer will think that you are actually doing them a favor by strengthening their employer brand. Okay, and personally, I think we are already getting into this time when we're starting to see LinkedIn from a bigger perspective. It's not just a job hunting platform anymore. It's really also about thought leadership and about sharing and creating a community. So my recommendation, if you really have kind of paranoid managers, I would just recommend do a few posts that highlight the great things about your current company. And I think that automatically will take away their worries because you're showing that you are not trying to pull away from them. You're just trying to help them and talk more about your work experience. So don't be too afraid. And even from an HR standpoint, no one is gonna fire you for being active on LinkedIn. So there is no danger there. If your manager talks to you about it, that you're saying that they say I'm concerned about your activity here, then you can just explain to them. No, no, I just really want to share with like-minded professionals, and this is actually my way of contributing to the community. So you don't need to hide it. You can just go out there and show yourself. Now, like I said, creating content on LinkedIn, it's so underutilized. There's such a small percentage of LinkedIn creators, especially in the Philippines. So take advantage of that. Um, I know of employers who are actually really grateful for their employees who post on LinkedIn, especially when it's something related to their company. It actually creates collaboration with you and your employer instead of causing discord. So so I think just uh, just go ahead and utilize LinkedIn to the maximum. You and your employers will actually benefit from it. Right. Agree. I remember Miss Virginia actually messaging me saying that only 4% of Filipino LinkedIn users are active. And out of that 4%, I would imagine content creators are even much less. So there's a huge, huge potential for you to utilize this platform for thought leadership. Thank you guys. Uh, Personally, especially while we're on the ECQ, it's okay that it's after lunch because people are at home anyway. But as soon as people start going back to work, I think it might be worth considering doing it. Sure. No problem. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Joe Mark, maraming salamat. I enjoyed this chat. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Yeah. So in that sense, if again, if you guys need any advice, any help, I'm willing to help you guys out. So just feel free to send a message. Thank you. Salamat, Robert. Thank you. Bye.